History, baby. UFC Vegas 100 kicking off very, very soon at the top of the hour. 100 fight night events inside the world's most famous Apex. And it'll culminate with the welterweight fight between Neil Magny and the surging Carlos Prates. As we welcome you to the People's Pre-Fight Show on this historic day. I am Mike Heck. Thank you for joining me. Normally, this is the time I would introduce producer extraordinaire, the baddest stash in all of MMA, E. Casey Leiden, to do some chair swinging and share his excitement for the festivities that are about to unfold. But Casey has a well-deserved day off. He's getting ready to travel to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Arlington, Texas, to be exact. He'll be boots on the ground for Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. That is obviously happening on Friday, and we are a week away from UFC 309, John Jones versus Stipe Miocic, and that has been a big talking point right now, the heavyweight division and where John goes and who he wants to fight. Should he decide not to retire? And I'm sure we'll talk about that. We could talk about UFC Vegas 100. We can give some predictions, some bonus predictions, all that fun stuff. But this is your show. Get your questions into the chat. We'll pull them up. Obviously, the super chats get priority. It's like going right through the velvet rope at the club while everybody has to wait in line and watch you kind of go through. So let's get to this, and we will get to as many of these questions as we can. Might break a record for questions answered on the People's Pre-Fight Show. So here we go. Shout out to Nam Kablam. What will be more competitive, Jones versus Stipe or Tyson versus Paul? I will say, God, I'm trying to put myself in a world where Mike Tyson and Stipe both win, because that would flip the combat sports world upside down. And I'm more than here for all of that. I just don't say either of those things happening. I will say Jones versus Stipe only because, I'm sorry, Tyson versus Paul. I'll say Tyson versus Paul. And the only reason why is I think the way I see that fight playing out, it's not going to be like a full-on boxing match. I think it's going to be a competitive spar. That's the way I see it. It will not be what we saw with Anderson Silva and Chael Sonnen. If you watch that event in Brazil, that boxing match, that it will not be. I think it'll be more like Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. It'll be something like that. I hope I'm right. I hope that's what happens. I hope these two aren't going out there to crush each other, or at least on the Jake Paul side, trying to crush Mike Tyson, because I think Mike Tyson truly has like 3 minutes to win this fight if it's a legit, like, full-on boxing match, and I just don't see it happening. I think if it goes past 3 minutes, Jake's just going to kill him. So, but I also am not going to fault Mike Tyson for trying to make a big bag of money at this point in his life. 58 years old. He's not joking when he says, I'm 58 years old and this is the biggest fight of my life. It is. More eyeballs will watch Mike Tyson fight on Friday night than have ever seen him fight before. It's not even going to be close. This will be the most watched combat sporting event of all time. And whether you like it or not, the intrigue, the wide net that this fight casts along different audiences, casual audiences. Even my wife was like, what is this? Just watching Netflix. You can't miss a promo for this fight. Everybody who has Netflix knows that it's happening. I think people will be intrigued enough to watch it. And the good news is, if that fight is awful, you still get to watch Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano, that rematch from their incredible first fight. So, yeah, we'll see. But I'm going to say Tyson Paul, because I just don't know if it's going to be like a full-on fight. Mason, hey Mike, with a fourth win in 2024 and a fourth bonus for Prates, when can we expect to see the Rockets strapped to him? Personally, I think we need to have a Brazil pay-per-view with the Fighting Nerds crew. It's tough in this division because I think people like Prates for sure. If he beats Neil Magny, that's obviously a very fun win, and it's a good win on the resume. He becomes a ranked welterweight, 4 fights into his UFC career, does it in less than a year, which is friggin' wild. But I don't know if they're going to strap the Rockets to him. There's too many names. There's too much weirdness going on at the top. We don't even know what's going on with the champion right now. And when we don't know what's going on with the champion right now, that slows things down. We don't know what's going on with Shafkat. Is he going to fight at UFC 310? Is he going to fight Kamaru Usman? Or is the UFC just going to wait and just do Shafkat challenging Bilal early next year? Nobody knows. Maybe tonight they'll make an announcement of some kind. I really don't know. But yeah, I think people will be more excited to see him. The problem is this card is not good. It's very bad. And I honestly think outside of just the hardcores of the hardcores, which is like myself and all of you who are probably watching this show right now, and even some of you may not even tune in to watch this card, that's kind of who's going to watch it. This college football, there's too much going on right now. It's November. I know here in South Carolina, it's already like freaking Christmas season. I went to a tree lighting last night. That goes to tell you how quickly these things come along where there's weekend activities, take the family out. This is one of those events where if I didn't have to work, I'm probably not watching this card. So I don't know how much of a bump Prates just totally gets from that, but he probably wins our Rookie of the Year if he wins this fight. And that's something, I guess. Spider-Man 300 style graphic is sick. Shout out to Jose. Shout out to Jose. Joseph, do you think Dana White deserves the most blame of the Jones-Miocic-Aspinall situation? I think the UFC deserves most of the blame, because if they just didn't do the interim title fight with Tom and Sergey Pavlovich and just had those guys fight each other, we're not in this predicament. And we've been talking about this for a year. Yeah, cool fight, but neither one of these guys is going to fight John Jones. It's not going to happen. The UFC will probably go back to the Stipe fight. We knew they would. They have, they will, and they are. And then what does John end up doing? He's not going to fight Tom Aspinall. And let me just clarify some things that we talked about yesterday, because we brought up the Jermaine Durandamy situation, because obviously these situations are not exactly the same, but we were kind of curious about the Jermaine Durandamy situation because Jermaine wins this belt. They bring Chris Cyborg to Brooklyn and Jermaine no-sells her. And then they keep trying to put this fight together. And Jermaine's just like, nah, I'm not doing it. She failed drug tests, so I'm not interested in fighting her. And the UFC strips her of the belt. I don't think we're comparing the two. You can't. But the closing sentence of the statement the UFC provided as to why they stripped her was essentially the UFC expects their champions to fight the number one contenders. And that's kind of what we're doing right now. I will say this about John, though. His answers continue to be similar when it comes to what could be next, but then we add a little something to each thing. And something that John Jones said to ESPN, which I thought was very interesting, was, I want to fight Alex Pereira. It does not have to be for a belt. I thought that was super interesting. And I would love that. You can do John Jones versus Alex Pereira as a standalone main event, and people will watch the shit out of it. And I have no issue if John goes in that direction. What I would have an issue with is if John holds on to this belt and says, I might retire, I might not retire, but if I don't retire, I'm going to fight Alex Pereira, not Tom Aspinall. That is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. This division needs to move on. Tom Aspinall deserves the opportunity to become the undisputed heavyweight champion. And if that means he doesn't fight John Jones, fine. John can fight Alex in a standalone main event. Create a belt. I don't give a shit. For the best, toughest 37-year-old championship of the universe. Cool. Throw a belt, whip one together. You did it with the BMF title. Do it here. And then Tom can go and fight Cyril Gane or whoever the number one contender is at heavyweight. If whoever wins that fight at UFC 310 between Gane and Volkov. And that's fine. That's totally fine. So, I don't know. The whole thing is just super weird. I want this fight to be over with because we've been talking about it for a fucking year. For more than a year. I feel like we've spent 2 years on this fight. Holy smokes. All right. UFC Vegas 100, historic night. You're damn right. Jermaine, come on. Kermit the Frog, what's up? What is one fight that is under the radar? For me, it's both women's fights. Stacey Gomez could get a ranking with the win. Jillian Robertson can enter the top 10 with the win. I mean, they're intriguing. I think I kind of know how both of those fights are going to go. I think I probably have more questions about the Denise Gomes fight. I think Jillian Roberts is just going to smoke Luana Pinheiro tonight. I don't think this fight's going to be competitive. The one issue that I've always had with Jillian Robertson is she was always like such a great first round fighter. And then if she was in a dominant position and couldn't get a finish, it's almost like she gave up and she would go on to lose the fight. I feel like that is behind her now. I don't know if it's the move to 115. I don't know what it is, but she's on one right now. And she is just a much better grappler than Luana Pinheiro is. And I think she's going to take her down and she's going to beat the hell out of her. So I think that fight is going to be completely one-sided. We'll see if Karolina Kowalkiewicz and her experience will be enough to stop Denise Gomes. For me, there's a couple. Let me just pull up the entire card. Gerald Mearshart, Renier de Ritter is great, but that's not really under the radar. Ratke and Semmelsberger's a good one. I think the one I have my eye on the most is Cody Stamann versus Damon Blackshear, because Cody Stamann just, I don't know, he's just never put it fully together. And at this point in his career, it's shit or get off the pot time. Like, he's got to do it now. This is his 15th UFC fight. He's 7-6-1. Started off with a bunch of good wins. Terrion Ware, Tom Duquesnoy at the time was a great win. Brian Caraway at the time was a great win. Then he gets Aljamain Sterling, gets tapped, beats Alejandro Perez, has the fight with Song Yadong, beats Brian Kelleher, has that close fight with Jimmy Rivera. He gave, at the time, Merab Dvalishvili, outside of the Ricky Simone fight, he gave Merab a really tough fight. He looked great in that one, but Merab just kind of Merab'd it up. And then he gets tapped in 47 seconds by Said Nurmagomedov, finishes Eddie Wineland, gets a couple of wins, and he's lost his last two. He's got to win tonight, man. He's got to win. And I see your other question, is he in jeopardy of losing his job? Yeah, I think he might be. I think he's fighting for his job right now. Karolina Kowalkiewicz, 3 for 3 in the Apex. She pulls off big upset. The monumental Apex 100. Can we crown her as the Apex Queen? I'm down for that. I'm down for that. Let's see. It's like, what? Hey, if you're going to compare me to the great James Lynch, I will take that compliment with pride. Absolutely. Shout out to James Lynch. He's the man. Son and Silva was so sad. Yeah, it was absolutely terrible. What is the path to victory for Neil Magny? I see a quick night at the office for the cig-smoking Brazilian. The path to victory is to do exactly what Mario Batista did to Jose Aldo. That's it, man. Like, that is his chance to win. He needs to just pin Carlos Prates up against the fence. And that's his best chance. I think the other path, just because I don't know, is he needs to get to like round 3. But again, maybe Carlos Prates, maybe all those Marlboros have given him like a second lung for some reason. I don't know. Maybe he's got the best cardio welterweight. We just don't know. So, secondly, where do we see Prates' ceiling? Obviously, tonight might tell us a lot, but as of right now, is he a top 10 mainstay champ potential? It's too soon, man. It's too soon to tell. But look, it's he is a fun, exciting guy that when you see him on a poster or the UFC announces him or Dana White does like an Instagram video announcing a card, that if you see his name or hear his name, you're going to be like, hell yeah. Carlos Prates is fighting. You know it's going to be a good fight. So, like, Carlos Prates, Brandy Brown, when they booked that, I was like, hell yeah, that is a banger. And not saying that this Neil Magny fight isn't, I mean, I don't know if it's a banger, but it's one we'll get a lot of questions answered, I guess. So, there you go. Sometimes you're at work and oh, thanks, Mason. Appreciate you. Prates starches Magny in his post-KO celebrations, him miming the act of putting a cigarette out. They were better celebrate. I don't know, man. That'd be pretty damn good. Mike looking like a power slap champion. Someone asked if I was natty. I'm natty. I promise. I've never taken a PED, And at my age, I don't even know if I want to try. Mike Duncan has recently retired the toasted coconut donut. Do we ride? It was the best one. I am not a coconut guy. I don't like it. Just never really been my thing, but Duncan always comes up with weird stuff. I'm a pretty basic Duncan's dude. Large black iced coffee, the occasional sandwich. Kid likes a chocolate frosted donut with sprinkles once in a while, but yeah. Is John Jones ducking Tom Aspinall? I mean, we kind of touched on this, but I think it's important to separate ducking from being afraid of, because John is not like afraid of Tom Aspinall, but he is certainly ducking this fight. Because, and we've said this from second one, we don't blame John for doing this, because I would probably pick Tom to beat him. And I think John knows that. Most people would pick him. And maybe 2 or 3, 4 years ago, the competitive spirit of John Jones would be like, I want to prove everybody wrong and beat this man. John don't care about that anymore. He doesn't care about the court of public opinion at all. All he cares about is the dollar bills, y'all. And that's why he is calling for Alex Pereira. That's why he's mentioning Francis Ngannou's name. It'd be real interesting if he called out Francis and just said, hey, Dana, you want me to be the guy? You talk about me being the best at heavyweight in the world, toughest, craziest man that has ever stepped foot on planet Earth. Dana White has said that John Jones is the toughest man, that is the baddest man that has ever stepped foot on planet Earth. Well, prove it. Let's go. Let's go to Saudi Arabia. Let's get good old Turkey on the phone, and let's do this fight with Francis. That'd be a fun little call out, but I would like to see him fight Tom Aspinall. But as long as he he can call whoever the fuck he wants. I don't care. But just give up the title. I wish he just would have given up the belt anyways. John can fight Stipe for all the legacy points he wants and not be the heavyweight champion. Like, he won the belt. He will go down as a guy who was once the heavyweight champion. He will go down as a guy who's won championships in 2 different divisions. That's what matters. If it's just about big name fights that sell pay-per-views and make him money, you don't need a belt. You don't need them. Let's see. Now that Rug is the heavyweight champion, would a Stipe win make this the funniest 2 weeks of a heavyweight title? It would be, if Stipe Miocic beats John, like if he goes out and knocks out John Jones, it will be the greatest watch party moment that has ever happened on the internet. And it will be the greatest post-fight show that has ever happened on MMAfighting.com, without question. Because Jed will lose his damn mind. We will laugh forever. It would be something. It would be something. Do you believe the UFC 309 pay-per-view main card is worth the $80? Yeah, probably. Look, anytime John fights, it's a big deal whether we want to see this fight or not. John brings like a different energy to the table. And I think by the time we get to this fight, I think people will just kind of be sold on it. I think the UFC is going to present the shit out of it. Bo Nickel, Paul Craig is interesting. Mauricio Huffy is fun as hell, and he's probably going to kill James Lontop to kick off the main card. But I think the $80 is for the co-main event, Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. No matter what you feel about Michael Chandler, the dude is real fun. And Charles Oliveira is one of the most popular fighters and one of the most exciting fighters. He's one of the most popular fighters right now, and he's one of the most exciting fighters that has ever fought in the UFC. He's one of the most exciting lightweights of all time, and in the greatest division in sports. That's saying something. So that fight is worth to me, that fight alone is worth the $80. And then we get the pageantry of a John Jones fight. Curious to see what Stipe actually looks like. I don't know. But this is probably the correct answer, that none of these are worth $80 at this point. But the good news is we will have a watch party. So if you don't want to pay the $80, we will tell you what's going to happen. And there's a very good chance it could be a lot of fun. Dalby Zaleski would have been great. A great co-main, but that had to fall off 2 sad times. We lost a lot of fights. Cody Garbrandt, Miles Johns. We lost a whole bunch of fights. Is there a post show later? Yes. There will be a post show. I know. I thought about that the second I said it. And I just try to battle through it. Now you're all calling me out on it. Much respect. And I deserve it. Absolutely deserve it. Thank you, Sleeto. Any thought on Cade Rotolo's win last night? Dude's got mitts, man. That was impressive. It was fun as hell. Thank you, Hugo. Tristan, Mike, I'm not sure if you watch. The sun is really coming in here right now. We're getting that golden hour. Not sure if you watched this past Dana White's Contender Series. What are your thoughts on welterweight fighter Jacoby Smith as a prospect? I think he's going to make waves in the welterweight division, especially if Safe Society is being his coach. I've known Jacoby Smith for a minute. I think I've interviewed him before. He's fun, man. Dude's real fun. He probably didn't even need the Contender Series, if we're being honest. Probably just could have been a straight signing, but yeah, he's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I don't know what his ceiling is, but we'll see, because welterweight is a deep, deep division, and there's a lot of talent there. So he's gonna get tested pretty quick. Lazybat, in 4 years, when we're back here for Apex 200, are we still slogging through mediocre cards that only warrant a warehouse as their venue? Yes, 100% we will be. These cards are not going away. I feel like they're not going away. The one thing that could save it is if somebody offers the UFC a shitload of money for television right deals and says no Apex cards. And then maybe the UFC will go ahead and just say, sure, thank you for all of that money you've given me. But even then, I think the UFC will be like, fine, you could have the fight night cards on the road. This company will have the pay-per-views, and we will put the Apex cards with this streaming site or something. And the UFC will get lots of money for all of those. So is being biased of saying Leon should step up at UFC 310. He should. I'm stunned he's so silent at all of this, because he said, like, after he lost to Bilal, he wanted to get in before the end of the year. Like, you have a chance to fight for the belt, for an interim belt right now, and get your rematch with Bilal. This is probably your only shot at getting it with the way this division looks right now. I am absolutely stunned he has been so quiet in all of this. Love the new setup. Thank you. It's going to get better, too. We got more stuff coming. Mike, I've forgiven you for your lack of toasted coconut riot support. I'll ride with you. I will ride from here. Damn you, Dunkin' Donuts. But all seriousness, what's your go-to sandwich? I'm approaching enough rewards points for a free one. Yeah, my rewards numbers are outstanding. Gotten a lot of free stuff. It's not the fancy, man. Bacon, egg, and cheese. Hold the cheese. Shout out to One Man Thrill Ride. What else we got? I think Leon has a back injury. He does? Ah, okay. Well, there you go. Mike, what can you tell us about the future of MMA fighting that will get us longtime fans excited? I mean, look, we're working here. We're doing fun stuff. We need bodies, clearly. And once that happens, then the fun stuff will come, such as swing rounds. We bring swing rounds back. That is, there are things percolating when it comes to swing rounds. We did one with Mike Perry earlier this year. It was ridiculously fun. And then once fighters saw that, almost every fighter wants to be a part of it. So, but again, it's an undertaking. It's a long process. You have to go and you have to film and you have to do all that shit. And then you have to edit it and put it all together. And it's a long process. The Perry video took a long time. And then it's just kind of tough. I would say this week's gonna be fun. We got Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. We got UFC 309. We're going to be all over all of them. We're going to be on boots on the ground for both cards, both fight weeks. And we'll have 2 watch parties this week. Back to back. We're going to have one Friday night for Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, right here in Command Center 4.0. We'll have the UFC 309 watch party. Those aren't going anywhere. And we're just going to, we might even add more watch parties. We might even do more of them. So believe me, we're going to be all right. We're stretched a little thin right now, but we're battling for all of you guys. Look at what Command Center 4.0 has turned into through all of this. And it's only getting better. But trust me, things are coming along. Would Moreno versus Albazi still be on this card and not being at last week's card hurt this card? It was originally the main event for this card before being moved. Yeah, probably. Probably. But you know what? I spoke to Neil Magny last week, and he said he was kind of always the guy who's supposed to be in the main event once they moved that fight along. But like honestly, it would have been great for this card, but how tough would UFC Edmonton have been without Brandon Moreno's performance? Would have been a tough night. A pretty tough night. That saved the card in a lot of respects. So, but yeah, it definitely hurt this one to some degree, but you gotta build up those fight night ones. Unpopular opinion, featherweight is harder than lightweight. Don't agree with you. It is a very good division, though. I think it's right up there with bantamweight. I think featherweight's right up there with bantamweight. I'll say lightweight. I'll say bantamweight by a nose. Featherweight's third, and middleweight's right there. At least where it looks like right now in terms of like the money divisions and stuff like that. But I think lightweight is just an absolute shark tank. But featherweight's really, really good. Apple cider donut, yes. That's one thing I miss about being in the Berkshires in Mass was the apple cider donuts. Man, those are so good around this time of year. Is Charles Oliveira fighting next weekend or what? Can we put an end to the rumors? Yes. I talked to Charles Oliveira. There's an interview coming with Charles and I that we did, I believe, Thursday afternoon. I asked him about those rumors. He laughed his ass off, had a good time with them. He will be there, ready to go. Michael Chandler will be there, ready to go. So there you have it. Who edits the fight timelines you do? I voice them. I edit the audio. I voice and edit the audio. And then I send it over to Casey. And then Casey's the magic man. Casey's the editor. He does all the video stuff. He puts everything together. I actually don't even like getting credit for doing timelines. Everyone's like, yeah, great job, Mike. No. Like, adequate job, Mike. Fantastic job, Casey. I don't know how long this timeline is going to be, but it'll probably be the longest one that I've been a part of. I think the audio that I cut ended up being close to 30 minutes, just what I cut audio-wise, because we have to tell the entire UFC stories of both John Jones and Stipe. That's a lot, man. Hold the cheese, shake. I'm not a big cheese guy. I like mozzarella cheese. I like a little cheddar too, but yeah, I'm not a big like American cheese guy. Shavkat versus Colby or versus Usman for 310. Which one sells? Probably Usman. Probably Usman. I don't know if Colby has. I don't know if Colby has that like drawing power anymore. I think it would be. I think most of the MMA community, even those who like really like Colby, would say that this is a pretty egregious. Would be I mean, him fighting Leon was egregious enough to just throw him right back in an interim title fight after losing a not really competitive fight in his most recent one over a year ago. That'd be tough, man. So, but I like what Colby had to say about Jack Della Maddalena. How many times does he mention a fighter and then put him over the way he did, like he did with Submission Radio? That was pretty telling. So I really like that fight. If he's interested in fighting Jack Della Maddalena and he's willing to go to Sydney to do it, if JDM can fight in February, that'd be friggin' sick. I see a lot of heck of a morning questions. Hopefully that's something we can bring back. But we need bodies for that. Apple cider donut is a good shout. You're damn right. Next highlight should be better be the story of the UFC Apex. I mean, the history of the UFC Apex, we'd have to do it in 100 parts. 6 short films that tell the history of the UFC's industrial complex of combat. What channel's UFC on, ESPN or UFC Fight Pass? It depends where you are, I think. ESPN Plus for this card. Hoping for a Nike partnership with the UFC in the future for their fight kits. Yeah, well, not anytime soon because they got the Venom deal. Big Mike, blue cheese or ranch with pizza? Neither, but if I had to pick one, it's ranch. What time do prelims start? 4 p.m. Eastern or 4:30 p.m. Western? 4 p.m. Eastern. Any current fighter's name is hella hard to pronounce like JJ's was. I don't know. There's a lot of them right now. Prelims are on now. Okay. Well, you know what that means. Let's make some predictions. You guys can make some predictions as well. Who do you think's going to win bonuses tonight? Throw them in the chat. Throw them in the chat. We'll pull them up real quick. Who will win bonuses tonight? I don't know. We do have Connor Mahoney. Is it certain UFC is going to announce a 310 main event or stick the flyweights to headline the card? I hope they announce it tonight. I really do. I did see that Alex Pereira was on SmackDown as well. Let's see. Or at SmackDown. Let me pull up my... I don't even remember what all my picks were. Fighting picks. There we are. I will say Carlos Prates wins a bonus. I will say Jillian Robertson wins a bonus. I will say Gerald Meerschaert wins a bonus. And I'll say Abdul Malik gets a bonus. I'll do my main card picks real quick. I got Abdul Malik winning by KO, TKO round 1. I get Jillian Robertson via ground and pound. Round 2, she could get an easy submission, but I think she gets a finish inside of 2. I got Romeus winning submission round 1. I get Gerald Meerschaert sub round 2. GM3. Don't sleep on him. And then I have Carlos Prates KO round 2 in the main event. So real quick, let's see what you guys got for bonuses. Prates, Jillian Mansar, Robinson, and Prates. 5 finishes, 5 bonuses. I think there's going to be more than 5 finishes. Carolina Malik, Prates, all bonuses. Prates, round 1 KO. Prates, GM3, Mansar. All right, I'm on that same boat too. Gore versus Tricoli fight of the night. That'd be fun. Penier, I love the gusto, Dylan. I can't lie. Do you know about NEF and Bang Gourmet? Yes, I do. New England fights, baby. Cage Titans, by the way, is a great card tonight. A lot of UFC vets on there. Jorgen De Castro. The great, legendary Chris Moutinho is fighting on that card. Luis Pena, Violent Bob Ross is also fighting on that card. So I believe that is on Spectation Sports if you want to watch some good regional action. Cage Titans always has great events. So, but I think we're done here. Okay. Enjoy the fights, everybody. We will return at the very end of the festivities. As soon as the main event ends, we're going to hop back on here. Myself, Jed Mishu will join me as well, right here on the old StreamYard platform. Casey, again, night off, so he will not be here. But Jed will join me. We'll react to the biggest main event in UFC Fight Night history, the main event of UFC Vegas 100, Neil Magny versus Carlos Prates. The good, the bad, the ugly of everything that takes place at the world's most famous Apex. And excited to share that with all of you. And then we can go to sleep and wake up knowing that it is officially UFC 309 fight week. And we're just 5 days away if you're really into that thing. For Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. It's going to be a very busy week ahead, a very busy weekend coming up next weekend. But before we get there, we got to get through UFC Vegas 100. Enjoy it, and we'll talk about it afterwards. So for me, I was going to say for Casey, but I am Mike Heck. Thank you, and I'll see you later on.